Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from across the interwebs. We are back with another episode of Decrypted, episode number 5, which is crazy to me. We're on episode 5. Like, we've done 5 of these.
Yeah.
And I mean 6 if you include the original one, right? But yeah, it's been over a month. So many TV shows and things get canceled after like 3 episods. So look at us.
What do they say? We got to get to 12 before we're real. When we get to 12, we're a sustained force. So we're halfway there.
You get to 10, and then in the UK the show just ends, right? We do 1 season, 10 episodes. So yeah, you'll get a new host. You'll get a new host because we can't go for more than 10 episodes. But today we're going to be jumping into some pretty cool topics. We're going to be talking about micropayments. Alongside that, we're going to be talking about machine payments. Kind of the overall Friday was weird. We'll touch on that a little bit. And what's just, vibing out, what's going on in the world of Web3, blockchain, crypto, and tech. As always, with me today, I have the beautiful men below me. This week, let's start off with the gentleman to my left, I think, Mr. Jack O'Halloran. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm pumped. I think this is the highlight of my week. We just get a comment, let people know how we feel. Totally authentic, unscripted. We're going to get some juicy topics going. Like we're going to talk about the market a little bit. We're going to talk about the future of crypto. I think people are underestimating what's going to happen here with X402. We're going to talk about that. We're already seeing some examples in Brazil, right? So, and also if we have time, I've got a crazy sidebar topic to talk about at the end. Okay.
We always
totally unscripted. These guys don't know. They don't know. It's a curveball.
Okay, so it's like Stan burning the hat again. Speaking of Stan, hello Stan. How are you?
Hello. Actually, I would answer. I was coding all the week. Usually, I don't code so much, but this is actually I like coding. Coding is fun, especially now you have the AI helping you. So I've been coding, and the time I hasn't spent coding, I was looking and reviewing other people's coding. And now I'm back to the show. So
Hey, Falcor, I want to ask Stan real quick. We got to jump in. Stan, what is that like? Give us the real details as like a top tier developer, somebody who's you're writing really sophisticated code. How is AI working with you? What is the workflow like? I think a lot of people know about this, but they haven't really seen it because they're not developers.
Yeah, I would say it actually speeds up things by 3 times, and also makes code twice more high quality. So you probably will need way less QA.
Is it because it's watching you consistently each time you're writing? It's like, hey, it's finding things concurrently. You're able to take it, ask it, hey, what about this before I deploy this?
You can ask it. Just to find problems in the code. But most time people spend not coding, but understanding how to use other people's code. Because if you're doing open source, you're not really sitting and coding. You're kind of gluing together pieces on GitHub that other people produced. And the problem is that these pieces are usually very badly documented. And so you're trying to use something, doesn't work, and you're trying some other things. Now with ChatGPT, it actually helps you a lot because it knows how to use the things. So it removes also the pain. It's actually, without ChatGPT, you get frustrated. You're trying to use, for instance, like a crypto library. Like last week, I was using curl, which is a library to do HTTP, because we're doing this X402. And then the library is poorly documented. So without ChatGPT, it's just really hard to understand how to use it, how to do this, how to do that. It just literally makes things so much more comfortable. And it's actually something we discussed last time, is that it just helps your creativity, because these nasty things that, the information, it knows everything about, everything has been published. So it makes things way nicer, I think. And it's I would say it's like you were driving like Ford, and then you moved to BMW.
Nice.
May you make this. Some people like Ford. I mean, there's some Ford Mustang is nice, I think.
I think the other thing as well that's great about
nice.
it is it really, and obviously I'm not a coder, right? But I feel like it opens up potential new opportunities for things. Like you can look at things from different perspectives, right? You know, a couple months ago, because I'm a guy that likes to learn on things, so I've done like quite a few AI coding sessions, from CRM software to even blockchain related ones, right? And you know, one of the ones that I wanted to do was you know, like Twitch, right? Like streaming, like live streaming. And I was like, can we put this on the blockchain? And we can, right? But no one had ever thought of it. And you know, we have this, like, I'm actually re-going through it now, trying to fix it and make it. But we actually ran a stream that went through the video went from my computer to the Scale blockchain, and then was rendered on a website, right? And it's like we just completely cut out AWS, right? And that only came about because I could go into ChatGPT, and it helped me come up with this really, really cool idea that you know, I had this idea, you know, was it possible? And you know, we found out, yes, you know, it is possible to do something like this. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it also helps, you know, like to learn, because not everyone has a great computer science teacher. And people that learn computer science, in many cases, it turns out they had a really good teacher, like in the high school. Like I had like a really nice mathematics teacher. She was just graduated from mathematics department, and I was like a 10-year-old guy, and I really liked the teacher, and that's how I started like the mathematics. So the teacher is really important, but not everyone just is lucky. Some people have bad teachers, you know, unfortunately. So if you don't have a good teacher, you know, you can talk to ChatGPT and actually can be a teacher. Maybe it's not a replacement for human, but you know, if the teacher is not so good, then maybe ChatGPT.
It's pretty good. Like you know, you look at this agentic trading stuff that Scale's working on. That's the power of it, is you have like the world's best trader. You know, you have maybe not the world's best trader, but you have an intellect that has read every single book on trading, every single blog on trading, watched every single chart, right? These things know a lot. And, you know, for me, one thing that's kind of interesting, I've been like, I don't have much free time. I mean, I'm working all the time. I've got kids, but, you know, once in a while I go golfing. And when I love to golf, I just don't have time to do it. But golfing, ChatGPT is better at coaching you about golfing, and Gemini too. I don't know which one's better than anything else. You read it, especially like the psychology of golfing and stuff. It's like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Stan. It's like, you know, it's like you think about having the best golf coach that you like, that can tell you how to practice, tell you how to think. And I'm like, okay, it's read every golf book. It's read every golf magazine. It's listened to every interview on YouTube.
Dude, I did the exact same thing when I kind of like started properly a couple of months ago. Like I would always slice it off to the left. And I was like, I at the range, I just had my phone up, and my dad was like, are you not paying it? Like, are you not interested? I was like, no, I am. I'm trying to find out how to stop. And I went in and I explained my entire setup. I had a video of myself. I sent it the video and the description of everything I'm doing. And then it came back and was like, okay, this is what you're doing wrong.
Oh, wow.
And then came back and was like, oh, okay. I'm moving the head of my club on my upswing. And that's why I'm slicing it off to the left. Move your hands like this, stop doing that, and you're good. And straight as an arrow.
Nice.
It's great. Like AI is crazy. And
all turning into superhumans. And someday when AI does all our work, we can just golf all the time, I guess.
True. Yeah. I mean,
and it'll spend all our money for us too through X402.
Yeah. I went to a golf course trying to start playing golf. They told me I have to have a teacher for a year before they let me. You have to have lessons for a year.
Okay, Stan, I'm gonna give you a lesson we're gonna go play when I'm there.
Yeah,
okay?
Let's do it, man. At least I can.
Lisbon's one of the best golf places in the world too.
Yeah.
we're gonna do we'll try and convince you to do an offsite in like the Scottish Highlands, with all the courses, and then we'll bring Stan out, bring Sawyer out, bring Fabio out, and then we'll do some some work on the course.
You have to go to like a lower course, like a course where beginners play. There's certain courses where everyone's starting and the pace of play is slow. Then there's some really advanced courses where people are really moving fast, and it's just, but even then you can just pick your ball up and drop it up ahead. All right. Anyways, we're getting I feel sorry. I sidebarred us.
Let's jump back into Le Topics. All right. Let's kick things off with some work on, like, a lot of work that you've been working on as well, Stan, right, with Machinepay, and why don't you give us a little intro into what is Machinepay and why this matters, and we can jump in.
So actually we discussed with Jack that we need to make this show popular. So we decided, like, whatever information, like some interesting things we want to release, we try to release them on the show, somewhere in the middle of the show, so people actually watch the show. So that's the middle of the show almost, I think. And so we have lots of updates. So what is Machinepay? Basically, what we think, the way we think about the future is that in the future, everyone will use crypto to pay for everything on the web. So essentially, the world will be like, you go around, you have your cell phone, and then you have crypto on your cell phone, and you go pay for everything. You buy food, you buy, things, you buy AI, or you buy music, videos. So basically, the world is going to be X402. X402 is just the protocol, very much like web is a protocol, HTTP, right? It's called HTTP, and this X402. But it enables pretty much, that's the future is going to be. The entire planet, people will just walk around and pay really easily using this. And so, but then Coinbase provides just the backend, right? And then Coinbase also doesn't provide confidentiality. So what is missing is software or cloud service that, like, if I have a file, if I have music, I want to sell music. If I have video, I want to sell video. If I have, like, a table, I want to sell a table. Or I am selling AI, right? So basically, there has to be the software that I want to sell any resource. You can call it a resource, API, video, anything, apples, oranges, it's a link. A resource is just basically a URL. You click URL, it's either things get shipped to you, or maybe at the parking lot you park, or and the Schlagbaum opens, you can enter the parking lot, whatever. You pay traffic toll, anything you want to pay, or your car wants to pay. There has to be software to do it really easily. Like, if I have music stored somewhere on GitHub, or on my hard drive, how do I sell it using X402? If I have AI API, how do I sell my AI? So this software is really making you need something to make things really easy. You want to sell anything, and you go and do a couple of clicks, and then you protect your resource using the software. And the software actually only gives this resource when the person pays. And the resource could be, API for AI, your interaction with ChatGPT. The resource could be you're selling your video on YouTube, or like on Netflix, you're selling like a movie. Or the resource would be like a box of apples, and basically when the user pays, this web link, and web link sends you the apples. So you can actually sell literally anything. So this software is missing because Coinbase is providing the back end. So they're providing the technology, but someone needs to provide the application software, the service, the website, or the enterprise software to do the things. So Machinepay is just a solution which is going to be incredibly easy, and is going to serve everyone from like a small user to enterprise. Basically, you want to sell anything using X402 without a hassle. You need Machinepay. You download it. It's free software. We'll have a cloud service. Well, the back end of it, we'll have definitely Base. Base is the leader in X402. We'll have Base, but we'll also provide a way for Scale to help Base, because Base doesn't have confidentiality, and also Base is full. It has basically all of the capacity already maxed out. It can't really make many of these X402 payments. So essentially, the architecture is going to be Machinepay is going to make everything really easy. Users will either sign up on Machine Cloud's website, or they will install like at the enterprise, like Machinepay software, which is going to be open source. And then Machinepay will manage everything: reports, users, anything like accounting, anything you do with this X402, they will be inside Machinepay. Very much like anything which deals with sales is inside Salesforce. Anything which deals with X402, people will just go Machinepay, and that will be solving all of the problems. So then that's the idea. Now the backend is interesting because we have this idea. We're thinking about launching a confidential chain which will plug into Coinbase. So if you want to drink coffee, the payment for the coffee will actually be recorded on this confidential chain, and no one will know about it. And then from time to time, the coffee merchant will be able to compile these tiny payments or small payments and move big chunks to Base, where the things are actually going to be seen by people because it's a public chain. So that's the idea. I would say, to summarize it, for me, the way I mentally think it's what Salesforce is for sales, Machinepay will be for X402.
So Stan, let's unpack this a little bit. This is really interesting. So I want to talk about two things. One, without X402, how are payments made? Just so people realize how. Let's talk about that first. So if, let's say, I want to sell apples, I basically can't just use the internet. I have to use like all these APIs to connect different databases to trigger payment events, right? I can't just like have payments connected to the web. It's API connections. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, the first thing you need to do, you need to have an agreement either with Stripe or MasterCard, and the merchant may or may not accept you, the Stripe. For instance, in the US, maybe you may use Stripe, but there are many countries where there's no Stripe, right? So just not possible to do. You just want to, like, you're a merchant, you want to accept credit cards. It's really hard. You actually have to first pass. It's not like you start, you accept the payment. You have to go through the KYC ML, through all of the approval procedure. Your business needs to be good enough. So it's a huge headache. And then they provide you this proprietary access. In different countries, it's different, right? So you then need, the payment comes and you need to call this. It can be different in different countries, all incompatible things, like a myriad of complexity. And then there's a huge thing, which there are two things. First of all, it can fail. All of us experience this absolutely dreary moment where we really need to pay for something. You're at a hotel, you just arrived from the airport, and you just have a single credit card. And the credit card fails, and you have no money, and you just literally sleep on the street. There's no way, like these things happen in a different country. You actually flew all over the world to a different country, and the credit card fails. So the failure is a huge problem. But another huge problem for merchants, it turns out to be the disputes and the time to get the money. It actually takes them days to get the money. They don't get the money immediately, which is kind of not fun for them, right? But the really more important thing is disputes. So if someone paid to you using credit card, then there is agreement between you and the merchant and credit card. So you can at any time ask for refund and kind of pull money back. And this starts the dispute, which actually they charge the merchant $200. So that's why the merchants don't really like to sell small things using MasterCard or Visa, not just because of the fees, but because it's just incredible headache. Someone paid you $1, and then there's a dispute for $200, and the person says they didn't get it. So there's incredible amount of pain that you're all used to. Like, we live in a society where everything computationally is fantastic. We have Google, we have now ChatGPT, we have Netflix, right? The only thing which is terrible and doesn't work is credit cards. If Google would like fail so frequently as credit cards, people wouldn't use Google. But you go like use a credit card and they always fail. People just used to just take another credit card. So this is the problem that I think this is a momentum in the industry now, just to push and to solve
this is a massively, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I feel like we're at people are underestimating how big this moment could be, because right now we're reliant on essentially what's a middleman to make every payment work. Because you have a website. Websites don't do payments. They have to use a payment processor, right? They Stripe, etc., Visa, MasterCard. And then it fails. They take a big cut. It's too expensive to do something that doesn't cost that much. But if you basically what we're adding now is really just a core piece in the internet, which is the 402, HTTP 402, connecting that to crypto and being able to like execute essentially smart contracts to say, yes, do this, then do that. And then like going the second piece now, when it comes to Machinepay, if you don't have Machinepay, you just kind of have a bunch of wires you have to figure out, right? But if you have a system that kind of helps you understand things, you can implement these better as a business owner or developer, someone that wants to sell things, is that correct? So maybe go a little deeper there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And somewhat to a certain degree, it will be like Stripe, because Stripe just it simplifies everything for you. They try to simplify, at least in the US, right? And they show you the reports, payments, integration with accounting systems, integration with the pricing systems, because in the enterprise, different things have different price, integration with all of the enterprise things. That's what Stripe provides. And so this Machinepay will be basically like Stripe, but for X402, to give another analogy. So let's say you're an AI company and you want to sell your AI API. You're like ChatGPT clone, but you want to ask people for payments, right? You'll go to Machinepay and you'll just a couple of clicks. You install the software if it's a big thing, if it's enterprise thing. You install software if it's a smaller thing. Use cloud service, and then this cloud service will provide you. You'll just do a couple of clicks, and suddenly you will be able to protect this API through the service, and then people will try using the API, and then the service come back to them and say pay. And when the user pays, the service will let through. It's kind of a paywall in a sense. Yeah. You can see it as a X402 paywall. It makes things simpler because all of the functionality is inside the paywall. You don't need to modify anything on your website. So your website can stay as it is. You just get a paywall in front.
Because it's the implementation. So one thing, like I've implemented Stripe before. I built a long time ago, I was like building this e-commerce site just for fun. That's what you do when you're a tech entrepreneur. You build dumb things that just to learn how they work. And I built this and I was like, okay, I had to take the Stripe code. I basically just was able to embed this code into my code for my website. And it was pretty easy, but it wasn't super easy. But yours with X402, you have to probably be like a super developer to be able to implement it unless you have Machinepay. Then you can just basically take something, plug it into what's already there easily, see it, manage it, understand what's happening. Because there's also not really a good tool to like read all the data. Is that correct? And understand?
Incredible. Absolutely, because there will be many. I mean, you think about it about a simple process, but it's actually a very, very, very complex software. First of all, it needs to be able to be super performant. And I'll explain why. Actually, it needs to be way more performant than a regular web server. When you go to a regular website like CNN, and you like read a web page, it takes like 50 milliseconds for the web page to load. So the connections you click and the connection is fast, they load, and then the website does something else. For ChatGPT, the sessions can be like 10 minutes. You can keep on talking to ChatGPT, and you're creating the session, you're talking back and forth. So the connection is very long. And imagine that you have 1,000 people or million people talking to ChatGPT. You have this million connections, and the server needs to manage all of the connections. So if ChatGPT will be going through Machinepay, then Machinepay will have all of these sessions, all of these things happening at the same time. Each of the sessions take resources, take CPU time on the Machinepay. So the thing has to be really performant. And then it also needs to be super protected against denial of service attacks. And in general security, the bad guys, the viruses, because think about this, it will be subject to like all of these North Korean attacks immediately, right? So it will need to be highly protected, highly secure software, and the service will have to be highly secure, and there will have the protection of cryptographic keys. So to run it as a prototype is not so difficult probably, but run it as a production service is going to be incredible amount of work. So Machinepay will take away all of this amount of work, very much like when you do Cloudflare. You don't really care. It's actually very complex to protect against all of the attackers. You just pay to Cloudflare and they put this capture and it looks very easy to you. So Machinepay will also look incredibly easy. Users, it will be just a couple of clicks. The UI will be very simple, but behind it, there will be lots of technology to actually make it work, make it performant, and making it secure.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. That's the thing. I think it's a hard thing to grasp, but if people, you wonder like, why are all these huge leaders across the space and teams like Scale and other teams like, the Graph, Edge and Node, they're doing all this work around this right now. And Rodrigo had this big talk at Build ETH last week on it. They're building stuff. Like, why are people doing this? Well, it's because I think people are recognizing that this actually can change core infrastructure of how everything's bought and sold. Not just, hey, these hyperfluid, agentic, machine, like, autonomous payments. It's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it can totally change how our life, how we live, because paying will be the same as accessing, like Googling, as easy, right? When you Google, you don't even think. It's so easy. Paying will be as easy as Googling. You will never think about it failing.
You have to have your wallet just preloaded, and it knows what your wallet is, and it just basically pulls USDC.
And pays for you.
Okay.
And so it's just the way people feel will be very different. But what's more important, many more people will be able to do payments, because now you don't pay for small things, but you will be able to pay for a little thing. The cash, you won't really need much cash after that. And it just will be way better.
We saw this in Brazil, right? I think that's the next topic.
Yeah.
Jack.
Actually, yeah, right?
Oh my God, that was a segue. That was incredible. That was amazing. That was such a good segue. Like,
it was a perfect time for it.
It was perfect, man.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened in Brazil?
Well, so here's the thing. Stan sent this to me, and he sent like 3 links, different stories to this, and I was like, holy, like, you usually don't see a product launch and have like overnight success. And it was just like unbelievable how many people are using this. Stan, do you want to tell people what this was? Because it's not like they're using X402, but they were using.
It is something like, it's basically government X402. I mean, it's essentially the government of Brazil, which is introduced their cryptocurrency. It's totally centralized and it's government based. So it's actually, but it's cryptocurrency, and anyone can do some things that we discussed with X402. Exactly, you can do with this. It's called PIX. And basically you walk around with a mobile phone and you can pay for anything. And it turns out, I think the government didn't expect this. When they started, they just got like hockey stick. They just crazy adoption. Now in Brazil, there's no credit cards, there's no nothing. Like the payments using this system are 250 million payments per day and growing crazily. So it's eclipsed everything and it's growing even more. And what's really interesting, people started paying like 10 cents, 50 cents, like tiny payments. and it enabled so many small guys to actually do small business, like people at the coffee stands, like selling coffee. Imagine like you want to start selling coffee, you just go and sell coffee, but then you want to accept credit cards, you have to pass like whatever, like MasterCard like process. They probably will never accept you, right? So if you are in Brazil and you want to sell coffee, you don't need now to go through MasterCard. You just go use this thing, and people just start paying you. So people paying very small amounts. The only problem, it's perfect. It's crazily virally distributed. It's now used everywhere in Brazil. It's growing crazily. The only problem is that every microtransaction goes to the government. So, I mean, some people would say it's a total control. And I would probably also be uncomfortable with this. I mean, I'm okay if the government comes, like IRS comes or whatever, the organization.
The government can already look at all your stuff, though, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like, can't like hide anything from them. So it's kind of like they may as well make it easier for them to.
Yeah, but it's actually but with Machinepay, we can do the same, but confidentially. Mm-hmm. So if the government comes with subpoena and 2 validators, maybe we will have to respond. But other than that, without like a subpoena for some crime, in normal situations, in normal ways, it's going to be totally confidential. Mm-hmm. So that's I think with this PIX service, that's the role model for us. But we don't want the government. We want to have Machinepay and a chain that's confidential. Mm-hmm. Which will actually do confidential transactions.
We kind of actually touched on this on the episode that you were away, Jack, on kind of like expected level of privacy, and I'm curious on like your stance on that, which is would you trust every single transaction going through the let's say you had an option tomorrow, right? Complete mass adoption of all crypto. Every single bank is now a crypto. It's private, but governments and banks, they can see everything. Would you accept that?
So here's like, I think people, they're so sucked into taking a binary view on this. They think that you can't operate and like things can't operate mutually exclusive in a mutual exclusive manner, but they can. And so Joe Lubin, who's like one of the founders of Ethereum, who's like all about, freedom of money. Like I remember he said once at a conference, he's like, these people that are so against the CBDC, I think they're kind of missing the point. Like, if you use dollars, guess what? The government can track and see it all and freeze your accounts anyways today. It's just more crypto friendly. And like, for me, and as a builder, I think the more people have crypto in their accounts, the more people that have USDC in their phones and their wallets, the more, builders like us, like our market size grows dramatically. And also I think people's lives get better, like being able to buy things instantly, not just have all these middlemen that are sucking value out of every system and every small business. And then, but it doesn't mean you can't still have your Bitcoin that the government doesn't control. You can't still have your USDT that the government doesn't control. Doesn't mean you can't have your like Ethereum, your Scale, etc. But if the government has their own CBDC, yeah, they are judge, jury, and executioner for your money. Okay. And in a second, they can freeze it. But they can do that to your bank account. So I feel like I'm a realist. I don't think we need to live in this world. Like, yeah, if I could just have a magic wand and say, here's how money will work in the world, I wouldn't have it be this way. But the world's not like that. If you want to get adoption from banks and businesses and growth, you have to play by some of the set rules, but the baby isn't thrown out with the bathwater, because again, you still have your other things. You can still use your Monero. You can still use your other, your Zcash. It's not that, Zcash is not going to be run by the government. Okay. What do you think?
I like that answer. Yes, Dan. What is it?
Actually, I'm actually kind of from this perspective, I'm kind of a regular guy. I'm not like a radical crypto guy. So I think the way I live my life is, mostly whatever I do, people don't know. I go to a coffee shop, Starbucks knows, but no one else knows. But sometimes, the tax agency sends me like a request, whatever, and I give them this. And sometimes police, and I've never actually dealt with police, but if police would go and ask me something, I would probably tell them. And so the society, I think the society where every single payment is totally breakably secure, it probably would be really hard for the society to work, because to be truthful, we have lots of problems in the world. We have lots of crime. We have police. We have, like, some countries are good fighting crime. Some countries not really good. But I would actually, there's a balance, right? So if there would be a balance to say, okay, build a country with some reasonable fighting of crime compared to making everything private, I would choose like this one, the one with like, it's reasonable privacy, but not. I don't think total privacy makes sense. I think it's reasonable privacy makes sense, and I think the reasonable privacy in a democratic society is that things are private, but if you have a court subpoena, if the court says you want the information, I think the information needs to be released. It's just for the better of the society, because otherwise, how can courts function? It just becomes very expensive to fight crime and like have law, which is really important. So I'm kind of like that. So for crypto, I think for consumers, like with Machinepay, I think if people, it will be confidential and people will pay for coffee, no one will find out. But if Machinepay gets like a subpoena from the government, or democratic government, right, and it's elected by people, and the subpoena goes to validators, and the validators release information, it would be decided by the community. I'm just expressing my opinion, right, because we need to vote and decide on these things. But I would actually vote that it's okay, just on a general idea that you have to be reasonable in life.
Yeah. I agree. I think. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Ben?
I agree. I think there's like benefits and disadvantages, right? Like, I wouldn't want every single transaction that I do public, right? That being said, I've got nothing to hide, so I don't really care. It's like this thing where it's like people are like, oh my God, your Alexa's listening to you. And I'm like, okay, Alexa helps me out on a daily basis. I don't really care. And it's like, government's listening to you. I mean, okay, governments can read my text, they can read my emails. There's nothing weird. Like, it's this thing that I've always struggled with on this like understanding of privacy, like, which cool privacy, from people and stuff like that. But like, the government can look at my stuff. I don't care. I'll give them my passwords. Like, I've got nothing to hide. It's a very foreign concept to me. It might be because I'm like one of 4 kids, so I've never had privacy in my life, so I don't expect it normally. But yeah. And to Stan's point, there are benefits, right? If you were to go, still hypothetical, you were to go missing. I remember there was the story of the hiker, right? Who went missing. No one knew where he went. He didn't tell anyone. He got trapped in the Grand Canyon, I think. There's a movie about him. But they worked it out. He'd been missing for a couple of days. They worked it out because he had bought something on the way to the hike, to the rock climbing. They found him because of that. And if that was all private, they would never have found him. So there are benefits.
Yeah, totally. And actually, to your point, Falcor, actually, just to give you an example, like in the US, right, health insurance is very expensive. It's expensive to go to a doctor in the US, right? Some people can't really go to a doctor. They don't have money. And some people, and also drugs in the US, the medications are very expensive. Some people don't have money to buy medications. So people go to like darknet. There is like, darknet, there are like lots of markets through like darknet websites, and buy medications like from Canada, whatever, which are cheaper, and they don't need prescriptions. And if they don't do this, they won't have any medications because some of them don't have insurance, right, or whatever. So I personally, on the moral grounds, I think for me it's okay. But the police goes out of the like against the darknet websites and the guys pay in Monero. Monero is very secure. So Monero found this. There are cases in life when you have to be, when I personally morally accept the fact that that's the right thing. I think Monero has the right to exist for certain things. I'm morally saying that if someone in the US doesn't have money to pay for drugs or for medications, and doesn't have money to go to a doctor to prescribe this medication, and this person goes to dark web, finds this medication from Canada, and buys it using Monero, and then it's sent, like, shipped somehow. I'm personally on the moral grounds. I have nothing against it. I understand police may not like it in the US, but so there are actually some things where privacy is great, and Monero is great in this case. But this is, I think, a very narrow case. In most cases, if you pay for coffee, you don't need so much privacy.
Yeah, we don't want the barista to know, but if Uncle Sam wants to know in the US.
Some situations when you have, but then you have, Monero has taken this actually already. Like, if you want to be super private, just use Monero. Yeah. And so there are cases when people need to have super privacy.
Yeah, and and the reality is Starbucks is not going to accept that because, right? And that's why. If you want to have a mass adoption, you got to just play by some rules. But hey, you want to send so-and-so your thing, your Monero, like, you can do it.
It's interesting because I feel like it actually opens up a completely new dynamic, right? From a stock market perspective, right? If we say hypothetically, every single transaction is now on chain, you can minute by minute, second by second, estimate revenue for publicly traded companies. Is that a good thing? Who knows? But you wouldn't have these earning call days where stocks just go up and down. You would see, if anything, a much more stable and expected stock market that rose with the minutely, hourly, daily revenue that goes with the company. Definitely interesting. Could see some, could see some changes. Although I've seen recently that, aren't they trying to make the stock market be open 24/7 now? Or I might be misremembering. I thought I saw something with the NASDAQ. We're like, we want to be live 24/7.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Like, I thought that was, that's a good, I think for us, we're going to be there to support if Brazil's CBDC wants to plug into X402 with Machinepay, great. And if somebody else wants to use it for something else, it's you don't have to be too opinionated. And some people are in crypto, but I think that's kind of going a little out of fashion. Realists and people who are pragmatic tend to kind of be the ones that are right more often than not.
Yeah, totally, Jack. And I actually have something to add to this. I think I've been in startups for a long time, and I learned to cherish momentum, like a trend, because I used to think that the way you do a startup is just like you have an idea, and then you go to VCs, and then you get money from the VCs, and then you implement your crazy idea or good idea. But what I learned is that if you are alone, if you have an idea, but if let's say the only startup that would be doing X402 would be like us, we would guaranteed fail, because the world is huge, and so the world is huge and hard to move. So to move the world you need to have a trend. So when this trend is formed, the industry, everyone is saying, okay, we want this, and then it happens because it's a collective effect. When people select one thing and they work hard on it, because there are many people working on it, it actually becomes reality. So for payments, there was no trend like this. There was never a trend like X402. It was always someone tries this, one startup, but it was never just too much kind of critical mass because the problem is big, it is hard to push through. It's you're modifying the society in the very way the society works. So that's why when we found out about X402, it's kind of guaranteed that we'll succeed, because just so many big players are actually doing it now. It's almost irreversible. And if you're a startup, then the advantage, you have against the big players is being faster. So if we do Machinepay faster than others, then it will be hard for someone to do another Machinepay. And if we use scale chains, for confidentiality, that's and the zero gas fees, and we connect to base. This is our like secret sauce. We just right moment. There's a window like probably like 6 months where things will gonna happen, and after that everything will be already like done in a sense. So actually, I have one ask our listeners. We have this GitHub repository, and it's very new. It's just 2 weeks for the Machinepay, and it's just not fully completed yet. But we do need to have stars, and I'll explain why. We currently have, I think, like I checked before this stream, we have 6 stars. For us to get to page 1, for X,
and I'm one of them, Stan. I started.
Yeah, started. We need 20 stars. So we have 15 stars missing to get to the first page in the search. When someone searches GitHub for X402.
Let's do it. If you have a GitHub account, go.
Please, guys, go and start
in the show notes. Ben,
and we will keep
put a link
to
the repo in the
this is super important. Because like a month from now, 6 stars won't matter much. But now everything is starting. So the difference between like 6 stars and 19 stars is going to the first page of the search result. So it's huge. So that's the moment where every single listener, guys, you can matter. If you go and star, we just have 13 stars missing. And please do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Everybody on our team, that we're gonna have, people on the team need to do that too.
Yeah, I like people on the team. I mean,
come on, but hey, Stan, I want to second that what I've found, this is like a good lesson for other entrepreneurs out there. If you're building a company, is like when you build in an area of momentum, there's so much, everything's easier. There's so much growth. If you're building into a space that's constricting, it's so much harder, and you got to be so much better. But in these high growth areas, that's what, I saw it. I started an enterprise software company in 2008. It was the first company I ever started. And we were doing stuff. We were like, we were trying to sell AI for like sales and marketing execution. And no one was like in the enterprise. They're like, I don't need a computer to tell my salespeople what to do. People were so old school. They weren't ready for it. All these friends that were starting consumer internet companies, like, remember like consumer apps and consumer internet wave. And these guys, like my team, we were so much smarter and better than at like, entrepreneurship and execution. And then a lot of these people were that all these buddies we had in, not all of them, but most of them that are doing the consumer apps. And they were all just wildly successful because it was just such a high growth area. Like tons of capital was flowing in, tons of people were, the world was changing. And hey, we eventually did really well, but our first 4 years, they grew massively faster because they were in a high growth area. And then, hey, Stan and I started Scale in 2018 and we took off. We grew fast because we're in a high growth area. And I think X402 is one of these moments in time that if your timing's right, you're ready to do something, you have the right skills, you can just, potentially get really, really far out ahead of the pack.
And also, Jack, to add to what you said, it's also a good way for someone to get money from VCs, especially when a first time entrepreneur. It's really hard to get. I remember, I was sending these pitch decks to all of the VCs, and many of the VCs you go, there's like associate, and they talk to you, and they drink coffee with you, and you think that it makes, and it's just like a social thing for them. They don't really, you never get investment if you just talk to an associate and go drink coffee. Because usually people just send the pitch deck and they invite for coffee and they want to drink coffee. It never works. You can go like hundreds of times, thousands of times. They will drink the coffee to you. Definitely will drink coffee with you. But so what's important is that if you're like a first-time entrepreneur, it's a huge risk for VCs to invest in you. And they prefer people that already did some success, and they prefer also people like working in the same area. So you do Wi-Fi, all of your startups have to be like in Wi-Fi, whatever. Mm-hmm. So, but then when the trend happens really fast, there's just very few people doing this thing. So VCs have to accept entrepreneurs that are first-time entrepreneurs, because there's no one else. It just needs to happen really fast. So like this X402, if you go to a VC, then the VC gets you, and you're the first-time entrepreneur, but there's no one else. And the VC is thinking, okay, this guy, I don't know the guy or the girl, but I have time window. This thing is just like, I have like 6 months to invest in X402. Otherwise, this entire thing is going to be gone. So it's an incredible way for everyone around the world to get entrepreneurs. If you want to, you have to accept these rules, which are incredibly important, rules of the game. And trends, people think, oh, trends is just everyone is doing the same thing. There are many things behind them that make sense. And so when industry moves suddenly starts moving hugely in a particular direction, it's time for young entrepreneur who never did anything, has no name, no like CV, to jump in and do something really fast and get funding. So I strongly, actually, guys, if you're all out there, X402 is one of the things on crypto. I think it's going to make the next trend for the next crypto market phase.
I am on it. Guys, I will send my resignation after this, and I am going to go and start up a...
Awkward. Is it awkward?
You already have the startup, Volker. This show is going to have like millions of users. You're going to buy a Lambo.
We have Stan on our team who's building the best. That's another thing. Have a good partner that can build shit.
Not wrong.
Alcor, you want to go? You want to leave? Look who we have on our team.
Yeah, that's a good point. On our team. I'll just stand back, like when the photos, that go out. I'll just be in the background a little bit to the left, just like I was here. I just did nothing.
One other topic for future. Stan, you started your first company in like how long time? Like what year? Early 2000s?
The first company I started, it was in 2000. I mean, I had like many failed companies. I don't know. I should actually count failed ones.
How long have you been an entrepreneur, basically?
I think pretty much since I was. I would say the first thing I tried, I was like 25. And actually the thing failed. It was the funny thing. It was actually a good thing. When the video like on internet started, there was this service just to put the video on internet, and I went to VCs, but I just wanted these videos to be scientific talks because I was a scientist. I didn't realize that you could just put like YouTube video for anything. And the VCs said, "Oh, how many customers you have?" And I said, "Okay, 20 scientists watching the video," and they said, "Okay," and passed. And then like several years later, it was like YouTube. But it was my problem because I wasn't really thinking big. I had this problem that scientists wanted to watch talks from other scientists. But I didn't have, since that time, I had read more books and understood more business. Because I was like a tech guy, but I didn't understand business. So I thought, but then, it's not a business to have videos watched, because how many scientific conferences you have and how many scientists. It's not a big business for VCs. But since then, I wrote down the rules.
Yeah, so Stan, both of us have, I started my first company in 2008 and have been an entrepreneur ever since. And I was part of a startup that was acquired. I joined them in 2005. But we both have I think we should talk about entrepreneurship sometime, because there are so many people in our community that are building on scale that are entrepreneurs. We have so many, I think, people involved in crypto that are entrepreneurs. It'd be maybe we do a session, Decrypted, and have a section on just like, hey. Because here's the thing, it's not that maybe we're pretty good at certain things and we work really hard, but we've also learned from a lot of our mistakes. And I think one thing, we can talk to those and say, hey, here's what you really have to do. We learned this. And let's add that to a show. That'd be fantastic, Jack.
Especially, I have many friends who are VCs, but there are some things that they cannot tell, it's not that they're bad, but it's like, they're also doing PR for themselves. So we can actually tell people more the reality, how it is, from you living in Silicon Valley for so many years. I worked like for 10 plus years in Silicon Valley. And I know this used to be that the only place to get money was Silicon Valley. And I think it's pretty much the same now, just that the notion of Silicon Valley got like decentralized. You don't have to like be there, but you have to be connected. So there are many things that the experience is actually very valuable, and it actually people all over the world, we can tell many good things for people, I think.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. That'll be fun.
I'll bring my notepad.
Okay, I'm gonna just tell you, we don't have time to get into this, but I'm gonna leak this like crazy sidebar. I had like met with somebody I know who's like a really well-known entrepreneur in Silicon Valley who was telling me like he like all this stuff about aliens, and there's like and I'm like, you know, and there's like this government entity that they're working with around, and like. So anyways, we should talk about this at some point and talk like, are aliens among us? And there's a lot of smart people lately that think they are. And I don't know. I'm like, I was like, I think aliens in the universe, go outside and look how many stars are out there. Each one of those is a sun, right? Each one is a setting sun that has an orbit of planets. Like, I think it's dumb to think you're the only life in the universe, but are aliens here? Because the universe is big. They might be a long ways away. But we should talk about that because it's completely has nothing to do with crypto, but all these entrepreneurs, like tech people in Silicon Valley, are all of a sudden like diving into this space.
I actually have a theory about aliens, Jack. I'll tell you when we have the next time.
If anyone ever thinks we're lying when we say this isn't pre-planned or scripted at all, that is the example of this isn't planned or scripted at all. I don't think I don't think anyone would have allowed Jack to...
We are structured. We want to make sure we give you a good use of your time, but otherwise, no scripting.
Nope. Aliens
are accepted.
You know what? I think that's a great title for next week's episode. You know, aliens and entrepreneurship.
Right?
Yeah. We can figure out a way to tie crypto in too. There is an angle. I will tell you after what I've learned. You know, I cannot expose who this person is either because they may have told me some things that are, you know,
also talk about
confidential.
NSA level NDAs. Oh god, guys, incredible. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I hope those of you who tuned in and listened also got to learn a bit more about micropayments, Machinepay, and also us. And apparently, Jack believes in aliens. So we'll touch on that.
You know, we'll see. We got to talk about this. I'm a little on the fence now, guys. I mean, I always believed in aliens. Like, I thought, no way, but like, wow, like,
oh god. Well, join us next week, and we'll be jumping into aliens.
And guys, please, I want to repeat it. It's super important. Falcor is going to tweet link to GitHub. Please start a GitHub repository, even if you need to create account. I'll explain why. We have literally 13 stars missing to get the first page of X402 on GitHub of search results. If we get to the first page, people start using Machinepay. It's incredibly important for us. Please, that's the moment. Please go and start the repo. Even if you need to create a GitHub account, please do it.
I will
keep on mentioning this.
Yes. I will be tweeting out after we are done here. Jack, Stan, anything further?
See you next week.
I gotta say, this is fun. It's the highlight of the week.
100%. All right, guys, we will see you this time next week to unpack and maybe even dissect some aliens.